Imagine opening your phone during lunch. A message arrives from someone you've only been chatting with for a few days. You expect a funny meme. Instead, it's a photograph of his genitals. No warning, no permission, no request, just there. For millions of women, this isn't some unusual horror story. It's something that has happened at least once, and for many repeatedly. The question isn't whether it happens. The real question is, why would someone think this is a good idea? What makes a person believe that sending an explicit photo without being asked will create attraction rather than disgust? Today we're exploring the psychology, the technology, the legal risks, and why this behavior usually has the exact opposite effect from what the sender intended. Only 20 years ago, this behavior was extremely rare. Not because people suddenly became less respectful, but because the technology simply didn't exist. The smartphone transformed communication. High-quality cameras became part of everyday life. Private messaging became instantaneous. Sending a revealing photograph now takes only seconds. That convenience created something entirely new. Sexting became a normal part of some romantic relationships when both people willingly participate. The important distinction is consent. When two adults mutually choose to exchange intimate images, that's very different from someone unexpectedly forcing explicit material onto another person. One is shared intimacy, the other removes the recipient's choice, and that difference matters enormously. So why do some men send these pictures? Psychologists have proposed several explanations. Not every sender has the same motivation. Some genuinely, but mistakenly, believe visual sexual attraction works the same way for everyone. Because they themselves are strongly aroused by seeing explicit images of women, they assume women will react similarly. This is sometimes described as projecting one's own preferences onto someone else. In most cases, women are not motivated to the same degree that men are visually. This is why most pornography is directed at the male viewer. This does not mean that no woman is voyeuristic, but the likelihood is far more remote. Others are motivated by thrill-seeking, the risk, the shock, the possibility of provoking a reaction. For some individuals, the anticipation of a response, whether positive or negative, can itself be rewarding. Some others may be seeking validation. The image becomes a request for approval, a compliment, attention, or reassurance about their attractiveness. Some research has also suggested links with impulsivity, poor empathy, or narcissistic traits among certain individuals who repeatedly send unsolicited explicit images, though these traits do not apply to everyone who has ever engaged in this behavior. In short, there isn't one psychological profile. There are several possible motivations, but none of them change the impact on the recipient. Most women describe receiving unsolicited explicit images as uncomfortable, disrespectful, or even threatening. Part of that reaction comes from context. Sexual attraction usually develops alongside trust, personality, humor, conversation, and emotional connection. When explicit content appears before any of that foundation exists, many recipients experience it as an unwanted intrusion rather than a compliment. Surveys consistently find that unsolicited explicit images are generally unwelcome, even though consensual exchanges within established relationships can be viewed very differently. Many recipients simply block the sender immediately. Others share screenshots with friends as a warning. Some report the account to the platform. Instead of increasing attention, the message often ends the conversation altogether. Visual rape occurs when an image is used to invade a person's private mind space. In many cases, the act of sending an unsolicited image of genitalia is exactly that. The image becomes more than something they didn't ask to see, didn't want to see. It becomes something that they can't unsee. And this is the permanent damage that occurs when such an image is sent unsolicited to a recipient. In some cases, the sender knows this and asks the almost rhetorical, "Would you like to see?" prior to sending. As authorities will often point out, their response does not validate the sending. It still remains inappropriate, perhaps even illegal. But the sender is hoping to be invited to send, and the receiver is often under pressure now to look. In many ways, this is akin to the vampire standing outside the bedroom window, mind messaging the person inside that they need to be invited in. It is a manipulation. If the person receiving has not specifically asked without provocation, then sending such an image is unsolicited. Don't fool yourself. The consequences become far more serious when minors are involved. Predators who target children frequently begin with conversation. They test boundaries, gradually introduce sexual topics. Sometimes they send explicit photographs of themselves. Sometimes they ask the child to send images in return. The process is often part of what's known as grooming. Television programs, such as To Catch a Predator, hosted by Chris Hansen, repeatedly documented offenders using sexual conversations and explicit images as part of their attempts to manipulate children into meetings. In many places, sending sexually explicit material to a minor is itself a serious criminal offense, regardless of whether a meeting ever occurs. Law enforcement agencies worldwide treat this behavior as part of online child exploitation. The legal consequences can include arrest, imprisonment, and lifelong registration requirements in many jurisdictions. One interesting psychological question remains. If the outcome is usually rejection, why keep doing it? Human behavior isn't always driven by long-term success. Sometimes it's driven by immediate reward. The anticipation before pressing send, wondering what the reaction will be, receiving any response at all. For some people, uncertainty itself activates reward systems in the brain. Others may simply misread social cues or overestimate the likelihood of a positive reaction. Importantly, gratification from sending an image doesn't mean the behavior is healthy, respectful, or likely to achieve the person's stated goal of building a relationship. Immediate emotional reward and long-term success are often very different things. So does it ever work? People sometimes hear stories of explicit photos leading to romance. Those stories exist, but they're generally situations where both people already had established mutual attraction and clear consent. The unsolicited version is different. Most recipients report that it decreases rather than increases attraction. Instead of appearing confident, it can appear impulsive. Instead of appearing desirable, it may appear disrespectful. Instead of creating curiosity, it often ends communications entirely. If the objective is a relationship, the evidence suggests there are far better ways to begin. Humor, conversation, kindness, shared interest, patience. These qualities tend to build attraction far more effectively than an unexpected explicit photograph. So in conclusion, before sending any intimate photograph, ask yourself one simple question. Did they ask for it? If the answer is no, don't send it. Respect is attractive. Consent is attractive. Patience is attractive. A single impulsive decision can instantly destroy trust, end a conversation, damage your reputation, or even create legal consequences. Technology has made sharing images effortless. That doesn't mean every image should be shared. The strongest first impression isn't created by showing someone your body. It's created by showing them your character. If you liked this video, please hit the subscribe button, and thank you again for watching.